and that is hantam lah. It means whatever. See, I say this no matter what I do, and it grew to be a habit. I'm the kind of person that can leave the house without my purse or reach an immigration customs without my passport. Crazy, isn't it? But despite all these incidents, I was still the same. Careless, never double check, and love to assume things. It really never hit on me on how bad of a habit that was until that one incident. 6 years ago, I was living with my grandma who had Parkinson's disease. If you look it up, you'll know that Parkinson's is a mental disease that affects a person's movement and speech, and it has no cure. Parkinson's can only get worse, and because of that, my grandma fell in the house numerous times. My mom and I would either found her face down in her bedroom, clinging against the sink, or crawling her way up the stairs. And due to injuries from her fall, dialing 991 is a routine for me. My grandma fell down a lot, but it was that one fall that took a toll on her. All we heard was a loud thump. Her head went down first, knocking the stairs. It was the first time I'd ever seen so much blood. I was 16 back then. I didn't think. I grabbed a tablecloth nearby, folded clumsily, and applied pressure blindly on her head. I pressed as hard as I could, but the cloth got warmer and warmer until blood trickled down my hands. A blink later, I was in the hospital. My grandma looked better now. She was well dressed in a hospital gown with bandages wrapped around her head. But the unsettling thing about her was that she looked like a doll, motionless but breathing. My grandma not only became fully dependent, her way of feeding changed. She can no longer sit down like us and eat like us anymore. We put foods in our mouth, we chew, and we don't have to think about it because the food will automatically be in our stomach. But for her, it's different. She was inserted a tube from her nose all the way down to her stomach. And before feeding, we have to make sure that the end of the tube is in the stomach and not anywhere else. And the only way to check that is to push some air down the tube, wear a stethoscope, and hear for a gurgling sound in the abdomen. It was 3 o'clock. Time for feeding again. I went to the kitchen, prepared her milk formula, and went back into my grandma's room. Just when I'm about to reach out for my stethoscope, it wasn't there. Well, it turns out I left it at the kitchen counter. Well, I fed her for a year. Not checking this time wouldn't hurt, right? Ladies and gentlemen, that thought was my biggest mistake. There I was, lying right beside her. Her eyes rolled backwards, sweat as huge as beads forming on top of her forehead. White foams were flowing down her mouth to her neck. All I could hear was a struggling breath. I tried to clasp her hand, but her fingers were so tight they could hardly bend. And everything went quiet. That, ladies and gentlemen, was the last time I dialed 991. 3 years later, I joined nursing. Ironic, isn't it? I caused a death before I could even save one. But did I let that thought shame me? Did I let that incident stop me? No. My grandma had an autopsy done. It was later revealed that she died from aspiration pneumonia. At the time, I didn't know what it meant. But when the doctors explained to me that it was the content of her stomach backflowed into her lungs, suffocating and drowning her, right then and there it hit me. I was the last one who fed her. And due to me assuming that it's okay and not checking the tube, it costed her life. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the biggest mark in my life that I would never ever erase. Especially taking nursing, attending lectures, and practicing the very thing that took her away over and over again on other people. But when I reflect back on what happened, I took away and I learned the most valuable lesson in my life. That is to not take things for granted. No matter how routine a procedure is, it doesn't give me the right to assume that it's safe. And always, always double check. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you as a person who learned the lesson the hard way. Yes, I made a horrible mistake, but I learned from it. And I learned it to the fullest by applying what I learned in everything I do. I made it this far, and I'm going to continue to use what I've learned to save the life of others. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, the next time you encounter situations that drag you to your lowest point, don't hurry up and try to forget them. Remember, life's greatest lessons are usually learned at the worst times and from the worst mistakes. From my experience, I learned my lesson. Have you? Thank you. Back to you.